Get you some radio.
What's happening?
Oh man, just everything. So what do we want to talk about today, man?
I want to know the significance. I mean, I know who the character. Let me see my mic. Is my mic hot enough for you?
Yeah, you're good. You're golden.
All right. I want to know the significance to the Monsters Inc. John Goodman character on your shelf back there.
So I have three daughters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always watch that growing up. And for some reason, my youngest daughter, I think she was probably born around the time that movie came out.
Yeah.
And I always called her Boo. I mean, that was just my nickname for her when she was a baby. And so I called her Boo growing up. So at some point over the course of the last 20 years, she's a junior in college now, by the way. She gave me for Christmas one year. She gave me this Monster Inc. the Sully. She gave me a Sully doll, and it came attached with a little Boo with the little girl on it. So I kept Boo, and I kept Sully, and she's got Boo in her room. So that was a gift from my daughter 15 years ago.
My mom has a basket of kangaroos that I've gotten her over the years. I haven't gotten her one for years, but the significance being that the mother or the baby kangaroo is widely known as Joey.
Oh yeah.
So
there you go.
Just like, I mean, what do you do? I mean, what you get her kitchen stuff? Yeah. So there's about 30 of them in there.
Oh yeah. So
what about the cup?
Which cup? Trophy? That is a hockey trophy. Where's that come from?
Yeah.
That's from the Cool Sports Challenge Adult Hockey Classic, Knoxville, Tennessee, 2008. So I had a bunch of trophies from adult trophies, but as a buddy of mine says, why do you want to keep a 50-cent plastic trophy, with a guy on top of it? But I always thought that was a cool looking trophy. It looked like it actually. Yeah. It's a cool looking thing, a big cup like that. So I was the captain of that team. So I brought it home and set it on a shelf, and it actually has. It actually is utilitarian as well. As you'll notice, every spare key from the Lancaster household is in the trophy.
Are we going now?
We're recording now, but it's not. What I'll do is I edit all this out. So.
I was going to say I like the way we were going.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. And it's funny. I started doing this, and I've done it a couple different ways, and I like it this way too. I started doing it a couple years ago where we just jump in and record live. So we're going to go. Actually, I'm not going to edit any damn thing, Joey. This is the Get You Some Radio Show. This is my buddy Joey Little. So we're going to be talking about. I don't know what we're going to be talking about today. I wanted to have Joey on. Joey's he's one of the co-founders of Modern Dealership Magazine. He's the digital media director for Auto Alert. So he's been around the car business a while. He's been doing social media for a while. Joey and I have talked about a lot of stuff that don't have anything to do with the car business. Joey's big about taking care of yourself and trying to live your best life. So we're going to talk to Joey today.
Right now I'm busting my tail to lose weight and to get my immune system up because of this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
I keep hearing and I think we can separate. What was that old Dr. Seuss book? I don't know if you're a Seuss fan, but there was a book that had a bunch of these characters, these little and some of them had stars on their bellies and the other half didn't have stars on their bellies. And then the other half wanted to get stars. So then when they got the stars, the other half took the stars off. Do you remember that book at all?
We read all of the doctors. I got three daughters. We read all of the Dr. Seuss books. I don't remember that. I remember the characters.
They were separated somehow. And I feel like I live in that world of Dr. Seuss right now, of those that will wear a mask when they go to the store and those that won't wear a mask when they go to the store. And it's just, it's just a weird place to live, and I really wish that everybody could jump on the same, because this is an important time that we could stress immune systems and getting healthier. I mean, you've gotten a lot healthier over your years. With mine, it's like you look at. I'm 45 years old. I'm a heavy set guy. I just quit smoking when this started because I was so freaked out.
Good on you, man. Good on you.
For lunch today, I had a piece of mozzarella cheese. I had an apple, I had a pear, and then I had some hummus. And I'm busting my tail for one reason is I'm seeing how these people are perishing. These 45 middle-aged men that they're kind of a heavy set, and then all of a sudden it's just knocking them down hardcore, and it scares me.
Well, let me tell you one thing. When all this started, I had a buddy on my hockey team, and he called me freaking out. We ended up having a conversation because he had just found out, he had read something that said that if you were on some kind of certain blood pressure medication, you were really susceptible to the COVID thing. I don't even remember what it was.
I checked out. It's bull because I was.
So this was early on. There was so much bull. Yeah. But what I told him, I said, dude, they've said from the very beginning, if you have any kind of chronic disease, you're in trouble. He said, well, I don't have anything. I said, what are you taking the medicine for? Chronic hypertension? Dude, that's what they're saying. If you're sick, you're sick. And you need to try to be unsick. So that people are dying because they have these underlying conditions that a lot of them don't really consider underlying conditions. And we just take it for granted that everybody's got high blood pressure. Everybody's on Lipitor. I'm just on Lipitor. You know, all this stuff that we don't even think about as being sick anymore. Yeah. And because we don't take care of ourselves.
It's an awakening, and the polarization of what's going on. I think, we can segue this into the car business, is I think because, so I was preaching the whole, kind of self-marketing for salespeople out there, right? Yeah. And I know that you were kind of like preaching it as well online. It's like, hey, listen, the dealership has its own brand. You know, the dealership is doing its own advertising, but now, you know, social media has been around for 10, 12 years now, is that this is the ability that salespeople, that F&I, that techs, that anybody, you basically have your own brand online, and they'll just take sales. You want to sell more cars, you need to use your online presence to create this branding. And I think there was a lot of salespeople that got into that hardcore and did pretty good job. But I think this polarization, what I'm seeing online, is that it's becoming now a cancer, because I guess my opinion is if you want to sell and you want to do very well and you want to make a good brand online, you have to take this polarization and just show. It doesn't matter what you think of the president or Black Lives Matter, or if you're going to wear a mask, if you're not going to wear a mask, because everybody's a potential customer, right? And you tick off one. So I want to get your feet on that, because you are very positive and you are very, you know, in the middle, kind of neutral. You don't get into the weeds like you know, you see some out there, and everybody has a good idea for you, or not a good vision of you. Yeah. You know, you're a happy-go-lucky guy that provides this kind of coaching, and I have no idea if you think that Confederate statues should come down or if they shouldn't. You know, I mean, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But well, here's the things I tell people about that is one, I don't know why everyone's so eager to share their opinion about everything, because nobody cares about your opinion.
That's right.
That's true. People want to share their opinions because they think, I have this opinion, and we worship our opinions like they're the freaking holy grail.
Do you think it's a self-esteem thing?
I do. I think it is. I think it is. My opinion's important. My voice needs to be heard.
People need to think I'm smart. People need to think that I'm educated. Right. People think that I know something they don't know.
Right. I need to let people know that I'm a good person. People need to know that.
Or I'm going to stand up for this cause.
Right. And or I'm going to stand up for this cause, whichever cause it is. And it's not that important. The other thing I tell there's three things I tell everybody about this conversation. One, everyone doesn't need to know every thought that goes into your head, because your opinion doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Number two, you might be wrong. Right. Whichever side you're on, if you're on for mask, against mask, whatever, you could be wrong. And so that's the one thing I try to tell everyone before I ever open my mouth is think about I could be wrong.
You're in the country music capital of the world. Yeah. So you've probably heard of Taylor Swift.
I have, in fact.
Have you heard of my Taylor Swift analogy?
I haven't. I don't think.
Okay, I'm going to drop this on you, and I guarantee you're going to share this with 3 other people.
All right.
So you remember back when Taylor Swift was not the superstar she is now, but when she was kind of getting going, she was dating multiple different Hollywood either musicians or actors, right? She'd date one, and they'd break up, and then
Jonas Brother of the Week.
Yeah, she would write a song about how terrible that person was and about how that person jerked her around or whatever it was. And then she'd date another guy who was like from Good Charlotte or something band. Yeah. And then they'd break up, and then she'd write a terrible, and this went on like 7 or 8 times, right? That she'd write these songs about these guys. And I always said, maybe her 9th song should be called What If It's Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that in everyday life, when people are online thinking that they are knowing more than you and just screaming, it's like, hey, just take a step back and Taylor Swift yourself and go, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm wrong.
You ever watch the TV show Justified?
I think I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. No.
So there's a show called Justified. It was a guy he was a U.S. Marshal based in the Appalachia in the hills of Kentucky, and they were chasing. It was all about meth, and he was chasing everything. At one point, there's this guy's U.S. Marshal, good looking guy. I forget the actor's name. And he always wore this 10-gallon hat, and his name was Raylan Givens. Raylan Givens. There was one episode, and I have this video clip memorized, and I keep it where I can watch all the time. But he's driving. He's got someone he's arrested in the car with him, and he's driving him to a jail, and they're having this conversation. And Raylan's wearing this big 10-gallon hat, and the guy's going on, woe is me, and everybody sucks, and everybody's out to get me, and he's doing the whole thing. And Raylan says, if you meet an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole.
Yeah.
It happens. If you meet assholes all day long, you're the asshole.
That's true. It's true. And I do vocalize some of my political feelings on Twitter, only because there's only 6 car dealers on Twitter. It's mostly just the rest of us on the vendor side or consultants. But there was a video last night that I saw that made me think about this today. There was a video of a group of guys that were going to go see it was July 4th, and they were going to go look at stars out by a lake. And they thought they got permission, or they did get permission to be out on this private property. But in the meantime, this is in Indiana. In the meantime, there was three or four highly intoxicated white good old boys, right?
Yeah.
And one of the guys who was out there looking at stars was black, and they were completely out of place. Telling these people to get lost. They're drunk, they're saying things they shouldn't be saying, like, hey, we should go get a noose and things like that. And I guess the point to this is that these are regular guys that go to work every single day, and they come home and they got drunk and they did something stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's on video, and they got doxxed. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not surprised I haven't seen more car salesmen doxxed online for their opinions, whether side you be on. And it's just that not thinking attitude of like, this is my livelihood. You could completely ruin your livelihood in 2 seconds.
Yeah, you can ruin your livelihood. You can lose your life, and it accomplishes nothing. That's the thing, because you're never going to change anyone's mind. You're never. I'm in the persuasion business, and if you don't think you need to be wearing a mask, I'm not going to convince you otherwise.
Well, there's some people like me, and I think you're the same way. Is that we do have a good self-awareness, and my mind will change. But I always go back to that facts don't care about your feelings. Tell me the facts, right? Tell me what's going on the facts-wise. I wear a mask when I just went to Sam's Club today to pick up some frozen fruit because I'm trying to eat better.
There you go.
I wore a mask, and I didn't wear a mask because of any other reason besides CDC and the just in case. Just in case. What if it does? And everybody's like, you don't know. Nobody knows. One doctor will say one thing. I'm like, what if it does?
Yeah.
What's the harm?
What if you're wrong?
Yeah, what's the harm in me wearing one, right? Yeah. And it's just I ran into somebody outside the Home Depot that threw a fit a few days ago. Here in Kansas City, we have a mandatory.
Yeah, it actually becomes mandatory. I'm in Williamson County. It becomes mandatory at midnight tonight.
It's just like what? Why? I don't understand it. And I think having that attitude, if you're going to be hardcore about not wearing a mask, you probably shouldn't put your views online, right?
Right.
Either way, because you're not going to sell cars. People are going to see that and it's going to turn them off. Because the first thing I'm going to do when I get a salesperson, if it's a brand new salesperson, I'm going to Google them. It doesn't matter where I'm buying it from, XYZ Motors or ABC Ford. If I get Sam Dorsey, I'm Googling Sam Dorsey. I want to see what he's all about. I want to see him on Facebook, because if he looks like he's living a life of carefree and doesn't care and says just radical type stuff, why would he care about how he's going to treat me when in the car buying process or afterwards?
Yeah. Well, I've had the conversation before. But listen, I should. This is a social justice thing. Or it's there's a conspiracy to keep us down. Whichever side you're on. People need to hear about this. This is important stuff. And but I asked them. I said, but you're in the business of selling cars. If you want to save the world, maybe you ought to go into the saving the world business. Yeah,
that's true. On the other side, exactly. If you're trying to be a social justice warrior, and
Yeah.
It's the same. And I don't want to take it either way. If you're a Bernie fan, or if you're a Biden fan, if you're a Trump fan, if you're whatever it is, the other thing, and I think this is where it comes up, Terry, is I think that a lot of people talk about it online and do that because they're bored and
Yeah.
they won't expand their mind, right? There's so many other, what I would love to, I could talk to you right now is my fascination with murder mysteries on YouTube, right? Or me building things around I got a new house. It's an old new house and I'm rebuilding. I'm getting ready to build a Japanese soaking tub out back. I mean, I can have those conversations with you. I brought these up because they're topical, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think people think about it. People just want to be right. It's weird.
Well, here's my thing. You know me. We've been connected, and I've written about this. And I go into car dealerships and I talk to them about meditation. And you want to look like people looking at you like you got two heads. Go in and stand in front of 20 car dealers. Tell them they need to go meditate for 20 minutes. But seriously, I believe that firmly. People do this because their monkey brain. Their lizard brain, that amygdala, way down in the deep, they get angry, they get their hot button pushed, and they want to spout it out, and they just don't have the self-awareness, the self-control to take a deep breath and go, okay, I had that thought, maybe I can just let it drift away. Just because you had that thought doesn't mean you have to vocalize it. Doesn't mean you have to push it with exclamation points. You know, if you're driving down the road and there's road rage, somebody cuts you off, and you cuss them off, and that asshole in the BMW, and then you're mad about it all day, and you're telling everybody about everybody who drives BMW is a jerk, and you get that in your head, and you know it just cycles. It just cycles, and people don't. They're just not chill, zen. Right. Enough to let it go.
I'm going to admit something to you because a lot of people I don't think can say their challenges out loud. It's something I have a huge challenge with. I feel like I have to teach people a lesson. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like if I get cut off, you know, in traffic, I've got to teach them now that they don't do that to people, right? Or if I'm standing in line and somebody cuts in the line in front of me, I have to say something out loud to that person and make not a scene, but I have to say something. And it pisses the people off that are around me. And I know it's a problem that I have, and I don't know where I get it from, and I don't know how. It's been my entire life. I've just been oh, look at this sumbitch thinks he's more important than the rest of us, gets to jump in the line in front of it. I'm that guy.
Right. Yeah.
So where does that come from?
It comes from your monkey brain. It's your human condition. It's wired in. You know, what you have to do is unwire it. You have your brain exists. Your brain pops all this stuff into your head, and you obviously because it popped into your head, it must be important because it's in my head, and my head's what's important. People need to know this, but because
I could ruin deals that way. I know I could. You know,
you can ruin your life. People ruin marriages that way. Yeah. People ruin deals that way. People ruin their whole entire lives by spouting every word that pops into their mouth. And listen, I'm white trash. I'm a redneck from Nashville, Tennessee, and my family is this is the God's honest truth. I've got more cousins who have spent time in prison for murder than have spent time on a college campus. That's the God's honest truth. And we come from fire starters and flamethrowers from way back. And so, you know, I'm for me to get to the point where I don't have to vocalize every opinion that pops into my head. That's a significant thing for me. So you think a lot of people, because maybe it's a fight or flight thing. I think it is. It's wired in, and you're either, you know, and it's a dominance thing. I'm an alpha male. You're a big guy, so you can. I think I fluctuate. It depends on who I'm around. Right. Because I think I can be alpha a lot of the time, but when I'm around other alphas, I tend to bait it down a little bit. Yeah. So it's just whatever thing you have in your head, and like I said, we're all the centers of our own universe. And do you think it's a nature thing? And give me this, or you know, way back in the day, you know, caveman days, humans, and maybe it's ingrained in our DNA. We had to be on defense all the time from predators, from everything, is that we're constantly on defense, constantly, you know, and then over time, I mean, physically defensive. And then maybe over time, since the threat of predators has kind of gone down, maybe it's turned into a mental thing for us, because now we're constantly on, you know, I see the light bulbs going off, man. Yeah. So no, we were wired to be negative. We were wired to look for threats. And I think, I mean, that's not just in terms of spouting off of the mouth. That's in terms of diabetes and everything that's wrong with us health wise, because we're not under threat, but our body's wired to look for threats. And we have a lot more inputs than the caveman did. The caveman was looking for threats, but he only saw 5 things a day.
Yeah.
We've got buzzers and beepers and everything going off, 27 times a minute. So we're constantly under threat. We're constantly at DEFCON 4, constantly wired up and tense on a trigger's edge, and that causes the inflammation that causes a lot of the disease. And that's it. We're looking for ways to release this pressure, to release this tension, which is constant, and we do that by expressing our opinions, by shouting out what's happening to us.
And I think that leads me, to the segue of the First 48 TV show. Have you seen that? Have you seen the First 48? I
have not. Is that one of those police shows?
Yeah, it's a real one. It's an actual camera,
like Live PD, that kind of thing.
Somewhat, it's homicide detectives, and it's called the First 48 because when there's a homicide, if the detectives can't really solve it within the first 48 hours, then it has a high probability of becoming a cold case.
Right.
So what it does is it starts with the crime scene, and then it shows them getting, witnesses, and they find clues. I mean, it's just like any other kind of homicide thing. And one thing that I learned from that I use in my everyday life, which there's my segue. I've seen probably 300 episodes of the First 48. And out of 300 episodes, only 2 suspects have said, I want a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And they shut the fuck up.
Right.
298 other people just next thing you know, they're serving life sentences back to back. The 2 that shut up and asked for a lawyer, the next screen says, Joey Little was found inconclusive, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so in my world, I think it's the best kind of suggestion for anybody out there is just shut the fuck up, right? Yeah. Just lawyer up. Just like if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't need to say anything. And I'm doing it right now. Like I'm just rattling and stuff, but this is a conversation that we set up. Yeah. And I think it's what it is. Maybe I think I talk too much. I put my input in there way too many times, and I'm willing to call myself out on it. And it drives me crazy when I see people online just ruining their lives or possibly ruin their lives just because they feel like they need people to accept what they're saying and be like, have you heard of what a highway guardian is? Have you heard this? In Kansas, we have these.
No, we don't. They don't have those here.
Kansas has this group, and it's Nebraska, and it's Missouri, and what they are is it started back in like the 60s or the 70s, and it's older folk. When they're on the highway, they will get into the fast lane and go the speed limit. So they will, because they are guardian of the highway, slow speeders down, people that are driving, and it's actually more dangerous. But in their heads, they think that they're doing something that's saving lives, and like they're guardians, right? And everybody thinks they're a fucking guardian. Sorry for the F words. I heard you say shit earlier, so
I'm not that worried about whatever happens. So it's not a big thing. I think people have trouble, and again, this is hardwired in with your brain. People have trouble accepting uncertainty, and that's what the COVID right now. That's what nobody knows what's going on. And I tell people this. This is the Chinese, this is the Martians, this is the government's trying to control us. There's this giant conspiracy, and your brain is designed to look for to create to weave narrative out of the chaos.
Yeah,
and certain kinds of people really thrive on certainty, and they want rules, they want regulations, and they want people to abide by this, and they want a structure, and they want to make sure everyone's following that structure because their brain has to have this structure. Well, we as a species have a lot of trouble handling uncertainty. I've had this conversation with a lot of folks too. I think we're going to, however we come out of this, there are going to be a lot of people in a lot worse shape, because I know people are drinking themselves silly right now because they're just so uncertain and so stressed. And they can't relieve themselves in the way that they normally do because they can't get out and go pick bar fights or whatever it is they normally do to release all this pressure at home. So they're sitting at home drinking a handle a day, and
I'm not drinking. But I can't tell you that this the COVID stress and what's going on is it destroyed a relationship. Before going into COVID, I was engaged. We got this house we're having, and it's done. Like our relationship is done just because of the uncertainty and the sadness and all that. I mean, it's done. And it's, I like to think back and, how would it have been different? What came out of me, what came out of her that would have never came out of us without this, pandemic. And hers is she's younger than I, and like I said earlier, I'm at a high risk. If I pick up this COVID, it's bad news for me. So she was, she's a social butterfly, man.
Yeah.
She likes to go to the club. She likes to go to the bar, have some drinks, and hang out with her friends. And she was not doing that because she didn't want to get me infected. But then it kind of turned this like animosity towards me. Like her, she's hating life because of COVID. And God damn it, I can't go do this because I don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
And it just, I love her to death, but this is a rough time.
Well, I hate to hear that. And like I said, it's trouble for everyone. I've been extremely fortunate because I'm living with the same folks that I've been living with for the same woman for 32 years, and my children are all here. But in the course of this, my youngest
together. There's no way you guys are ever going anywhere apart.
Yeah, I mean we're till we're dead. So it's just it is, and that's just But my youngest, not one of my youngest daughter, one of my daughters actually moved out and got her first apartment while this is going on. So
really? How's that going for her? Like how's she handling that?
She's good. She's good. She's been planning it a while, and it just worked out that her roommate,
a roommate, yeah.
A roommate. They're both teachers, so they'd been planning on finding a place together. Had kind of been looking for a place together, and so it worked for her because she found a place. And she moved on her terms when she wanted to move, and not because she had to move or she was changing. Or
how old is she?
She's 25.
Cool.
Yeah.
I remember moving out on and I went by myself. I didn't have a roommate.
Yeah.
It was scary, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, with personalities, is she an introvert or is she an extrovert?
Yeah, no, she's the introvert. We're all introverts.
I was going to say you fake the extrovert part pretty well.
Yeah, I do. I play it, but it's an act, baby. I push the button and turn it off.
Me too.
But we're both old radio guys, and this is my theory. I mean, and I've had this trouble. One of my daughters is her twin sister, who's still here. She's an extreme introvert. And so I had this conversation with her about what introversion means. And I said, well, what about you? What about me? Am I an introvert or an extrovert? Because she doesn't like to get out and she has trouble getting out and meeting people and things. And she said, well, you're an extrovert. You go do speeches and you do your videos and you're all the time chatting. I said, okay, when I'm not doing those things, what are you doing? Well, you're locked in your room, doing something. So 99% of my time is spent, here doing nothing. And then when I have to turn it on, I turn it on.
You feel exhausted after you turn it on?
No,
you don't feel exhausted.
What I feel exhausted is if I'm out in public.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a training session or I'm at a conference or something like that, that wears me out. Boom. If I got to talk to 100 people in a day, I am done. I need a nap. I need to be alone in a room for 15 hours. So being around a lot of people exhausts me. I can do this all day because I can turn it off. I do need to charge my batteries when I need to not do this all day. This is tiring. Just having a conversation. And the other thing is, is I'm a night owl. So 2 hours after everybody goes to bed, I sit there, I decompress for a couple hours with no other human being before I ever go to sleep, just to charge my batteries.
I talked to I think that therapy can be like one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, right? That and a self-awareness journey. And I talked to the Kansas City Anxiety place here in Kansas City. I talk to them about once a month, try to get anxiety under control. How can I do it naturally? And it's the same. And my anxiety comes from me not being able to control stuff. Like I have OCD on you. Like I think that point A to point B is the easiest way you should do it. And if you don't do it that way, you're a moron, right? Or I'll just get so frustrated. So what I do is I pull myself away from people, right? It's the whole thing about, trying to be the fixer or telling people how they need to do it. That comes from that earlier. Yeah. And I think it affects things. So I'm actively trying to do something social every day, whether it be this, talking to you online, or go to the store or something. And how we went from doxing rednecks in Indiana to talking about anxiety and all that. I think the topic or what we're kind of hitting here, Terry, is self-awareness, man. I think
that's just, it's just letting go. Just trying to let go of our self-importance, and then that comes from self-awareness. And there's a couple things I miss about being 21 years old. Number one, I miss knowing everything. When I was 21 years old, I knew everything. It was a beautiful thing, man.
You too, huh? You
Yeah.
were a genius back then too.
I mean, I could have told you anything, and so it's been a gift for me to reach this age and realize I don't know shit about shit, and once you come to that understanding, you don't know shit about shit. I think you give other people permission to not know shit about shit either,
Yeah.
and kind of let them discover on their own terms what they don't know, because there's a lot of people still running around think they know a lot more than they do.
This is funny. I have my house here. I'm building a workshop in the basement. I've worked with wood back in the day, and then I stopped for a long time. I lived in downtown Kansas City, so I didn't have the space. And now I do. And I watched a bunch of videos and read some articles about building out workbenches, right?
Yeah.
And then I went to do it, and I struggled with the first one. I mean, I struggled. I was like, God, yeah, man. And and your point is perfect. It didn't matter how many videos I watched. It didn't matter how many articles I read. I still didn't know shit about what I was trying to accomplish.
Right.
For somebody to think that they know shit to say something online physically instead of building it, then maybe you take a step back and be like, I really don't know how to build this workbench. I need to do some more research into this.
Yeah. And just, you know, when I wrote that book, Better, and I wrote it and I thought, well, I thought I knew everything. This is a great book. And I wrote all this stuff. And in the process of reading about it and researching it afterwards, after I wrote it, it turns out that I wrote a combination Buddhist and a Stoic manifesto. So all the ideas in my book, which I thought were brand new and came out of Terry's head, are literally 2,000 years old. And that's so the main parts of Buddhism are embracing uncertainty, embracing imperfection, embracing intemperance, so that this too shall pass. Everything is going away. All the stuff that I kind of hit on. It turns out that people have been talking about for 2,000 years, except they don't really get talked about that much, because we all think we know everything, and we all think everything should be a certain way. And if you learn to accept the way things are, rejoice in the way things are, it makes your life a whole lot better. It's made my life a whole lot better.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier too, that most people just don't care about what you think or what you believe in or anything. They just don't care. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't really care what other people think or believe in, unless it's detrimental or it's hurting somebody. But believe in whatever you want to believe. You want to believe in this flying spaghetti monster? Believe in him. You want to believe in Jesus? Believe in him. You want to believe, it just doesn't. You think that Confederate soldiers' statues are history? Or okay, all right, whatever. Okay, put one in your yard.
Yeah.
If you don't, then okay. I mean, so I think that's. And I'm going to look into the Buddhist thing a little bit. I am. Oh, okay. Can I talk about one project that I'm working on?
Talk about anything you want to, baby. We're wide open.
I'm meeting. So this right here, this guy's name is Clarence Boots Shields. This is my grandfather. This is his dad. I got a bunch of pictures here. My mom is helping me out with this, but I'm trying. I've been a video guy for a while. I do a couple. Auto Alert has a few video series that we do online. One's today in automotive history. And then we do another one. I do another one called the Automotive Innovators, which is take just a different person every week and kind of highlight who they are. Tomorrow, or it goes out on Thursday, it's going to be Carl Speer. I don't know if you remember Carl Speer, but he was one of the three musketeers at Chrysler. When Chrysler came in and they said, okay, he's the one that came up with the wind tunnel idea. He was infatuated with the wind tunnels. My grandfather, Clarence Boots Shields, was killed in the line of duty in 1955 in Topeka, Kansas as an officer. And I'm going to try to put together this documentary about who he was and the family. So I wanted some good juju from you, man. I know you got them Southern Roots sweet tea, that you can throw my way. It's my first time taking on a pure documentary of somebody my grandfather. So
yeah.
So you like to see that? Here's
I do, man. I one of the things I've had in my brain is I would love to sit down and I've thought about doing that for my entire family. Sit down, and just because I've actually had an aunt tell me I should do this, is sit down, because I like to run my mouth in front of a microphone and a camera, is sit down and tell the family stories. My grandmother, tell the stories about my grandmother, tell the stories about my grandfather. And I actually had my grandmother do that. She passed away about 10 years ago, but 10 years before that, I sent her a cassette deck and said, do me a favor, sit down, and I've still got this. Sit down and tell me your story. Tell me about what you did with a kid. Tell me about how, about raising the kids. Just sit down and tell me a story. And she was really uncomfortable with it. So what she ended up doing, she hand wrote everything she wanted to talk about, from when she was a kid, what she did for fun as a kid, and then how she raised her kids, and 3 or 4 different stories. She hand wrote these on little pieces of paper on steno pads, just like the one I wrote on. And she wrote out about 6 pages, handwritten. And she ended up taping them all together. Yeah. She taped them all together like a scroll, and she sat down in front of one of those old school cassette recorders with the button in the microphone, and read her scroll that she recorded. And
she made herself a little script.
Made herself a little script, and they hand wrote those. And I've had that cassette deck. I've actually converted it to an MP3, so it's on a computer now. But I've had in my mind for 20 years that I'm going to take that audio of her reading her little story and stitch it together with some pictures and do some stuff like that. So.
I have an episode of the podcast I was doing for a while. Everyone Needs a Little. I did the same thing with my grandmother.
Yeah.
I sat down with her, and they're like an hour long. It was pretty, she, like you said, she was very nervous at first. She didn't know what's going on. And then and she just gets rolling.
Right.
And then
I think everybody's got a story. And that's why I like doing this. Everybody's got a story. And that's why I like training the people that I do, is to encourage them to share your story more and your opinion less.
That's exactly where I was thinking that too, is that you stop talking about your opinion and stop sharing your passions. Start sharing your passions in your story. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's for sales or for anybody that's going to be online. That's perfect.
For any human being, I mean, because we're all interconnected as human beings. And we were talking about Buddhism a little while ago, and I've come to a different realization about Christianity. For 50 years, I thought Christianity was about going to hell and pornography and all the stuff that you hear about Christianity and all the negative stuff. And then I started to actually watched a guy named Andy Stanley on TV. He's a preacher that talks about stuff, and he turns out that all of Christianity boils down to one rule. There's only one rule for Christianity, and the New Testament. The New Testament is 3 words: love one another. That's the rule. Love one another. We hear about the 10 Commandments, and they post the 10 Commandments up on courthouse walls. The 10 Commandments were actually about 600 and some odd commandments. The 10 Commandments were just the first 10, but they weren't for us. They were for the ancient Jews.
Yeah.
that was the Old Testament. The Old Testament was the 600 rules that the ancient Jews had to follow.
Yeah. Like the NBA rules back in the 1950s.
Right. Then there was no 3-point
line. Yeah.
Then they came along. They said, forget all about all that. There's only one rule. Here's the rule: love one another.
Yeah.
Spread the love. So that's what I'm trying to do. Spread some love. And I get in trouble every once in a while. I got yelled at for being positive. Someone asked me about everything. I said, listen, I'm just trying to spread positivity. He was like, oh, but there's so much wrong. Everything's got to be this and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but I can't do anything about that. All I can do is spread the love.
I'm taking something away from this. I think a lot of people that get on these podcasts, especially like in the industry, and they kind of go through the motions and they talk about, the bullet points they want to talk about. And I'm going to tell you, Terry, I am definitely taking something away from this. I'm taking a different perspective on how I am, because I just got done ripping everybody's ass in the first part of our conversation about, what they do online. I shouldn't care. I think that good people are going to be good people, and you should just love everyone. Right. Yeah, and you should
love everyone.
You should. Brene Brown. Does that name?
I just read something about Brene Brown a little while ago. Actually, it was someone I met from Live a Little Project. I think had just posted something.
Brown. Yeah. She says, and I struggle with this every single day. You have to assume that every single person that you know is doing the best that they can.
Right.
They can't, not the best that you think they can. They're doing the best that they think they can, or they can. And I got to keep that in mind. And I was kind of sour when I started this thing up, because it's just been down, the COVID thing. And
the thing I'd heard years ago is any conversation you're having someone, this was a sales technique someone had taught me when I was trying to learn how to sell stuff, that if someone has an argument, someone has an objection, the thing you should say is, if I were in your shoes, I would think exactly the same thing. Because you know what? If you were in their shoes, you would think exactly the same thing. Because you're in their shoes, you have their experience. So based on what they know, that's the way to be. And if you're in their position, you would be doing exactly the same thing. So give everyone a break, and give yourself a break too while you're at it.
Are you still playing hockey with COVID
I do.
going on?
Well, we didn't play. The ice rink got shut down in March, mid March. Everything got shut down, and we didn't play again for 3.5 months. I went 3.5 months without stepping on a sheet of ice or seeing a grown man naked.
Really?
But
now you can make up for that.
Yeah. So we started playing again 2 weeks ago. So then they've got all these regulations now. We have to go to the rink dressed just like we're in kindergarten. You know, we have to put on our stuff before we get there. Can't hang out in the locker room and drink beer and do all the stuff that everyone likes to do. But we can play. So I got a game today's Tuesday. I got a game Thursday night. So I'm just excited to be able to play again after 3.5 months.
I'm going to try to take a different mindset, because the things that I love right now are just like NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, our car. Yeah. Seeing Bob Tasca's got COVID-19.
Oh, I didn't hear that, man. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So he's not racing this weekend. He's they got a sit-in driver that's coming in. Offshore racing with our super stock S21 boat. We're not doing that just because of we had some challenges with auto alert. With the first thing that dealers do is they cancel everything as soon as weird hits, right? So we just have to take that brunt. Yeah. And unfortunately, we had to lay off a lot of employees, so we can't just spend money on boats and cars. Yeah. So two of my passions you're just defending. So you've given me kind of a different perspective and a different hop step. And is that old Tracy Myers' hat over that, or is that yours?
That is very similar to the one Tracy wears. Tracy's got one. I don't think Tracy's has sequins though. I think I bought that a year ago for July 4th to wear on something, and then I was putting stuff on the wall, and it was bright and colorful and shiny. So we'll stick it up there. Yeah. So
it looks good.
Got that. So I spread some wisdom with you, and this turned into the Terry show a little bit, but like
you did change. You changed my perspective. You absolutely did. There's no bullshit about that.
Yeah, because you're a radio guy. You're an interviewer. So, but this is the one question that I do ask everyone who comes on the show, and this is the only guarantee that if some and I started this show 100% for selfish reasons, just because so I can have conversations with interesting people. But I promise all the people who watch and listen, both of my mom and my dad and everybody else that watches, that if they'll spend 25 minutes with me chatting with my friends, they're going to walk away with something that can make their life better. So I ask everybody on the show, what's one action step that people can do today? Mostly salespeople. That's mostly who watches. Mostly salespeople who can do today to start making their lives better, to create health, happiness, and prosperity in their lives. So what would you recommend for people? What are you trying to do for you? And what would you think other people need to do for themselves?
Comes down to the Taylor Swift, man. It's the Taylor Swift analogy. I think it comes down. I think that if we have self-awareness and we just think sometimes maybe it's me, maybe it's me. Maybe it's not every customer that comes up here and I can't sell them a car. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. Maybe I need to get some more training. Maybe I got to use my words different, my talk tracks. When I'm on the phone, maybe I shouldn't be so aggressive. Maybe I should speak up and enunciate better. Just think about it in every single aspect of your life. Maybe it's me. What can I do to improve? And stop blaming everybody else for my misfalls, and not even a hardcore negative thing, just everything and anything. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the asshole on the road, or maybe I'm the one that's holding everybody up, or maybe I'm the one that's just not saying words the right way, or or having enough empathy with a customer, or understanding, or look at it, like you said, try to get from their point of view. Yeah. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not my sales manager. Maybe it's not my general manager. Maybe it's not the parts guy. Maybe it's me.
Oh, I got another question for you, because I was wondering this. What exactly is a Japanese soaking tub?
Oh, goodness. I was looking these things up. So I've got this space. I've got it's an old house and it's beautiful. I'll show some pictures. They're on Facebook. But a Japanese soaking tub is, it comes down, it's like a jacuzzi. Yeah. But without the blowing and the motors and all that kind of stuff. It's just it's tall enough so because I'm a big guy, you get the water right up to here. You make it nice and deep. So you can make it out of walnut. It's like basically a bathtub outside.
Right.
Big enough that two people can just sit in it and soak. Have you seen there's Natural Geographic show that has these monkeys that are just like in this water, and the water looks like it's
I've seen that. Yeah.
That's where the idea kind of came from, the soaking tub. You just sit and you just kind of soak and you just watch the world, man. You watch the leaves change, and I'm just like making things and creating things. And I think this is going to be a cool thing. You know, you fill it up with water, you get in it, and you just think about everything and anything and nothing at all.
Just chill. Just
you meditate.
When you get in there and you meditate, man, breathe the 10 in through the nose, out through the mouth, deep breath.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to wear swim pants because it's, you know, my neighbors can see over there.
Oh, screw them, man. Grow some trees. Listen, here's
sounds cool, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound cool? Like, what do you got in your house? I got a Japanese soaking tub.
Right. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Hey, here's what you do. Add some Japanese rain chains to it. Do you know what those are?
No, what's that?
So it's attached to your gutter. Instead of a gutter that spouts out your water, if you attach chains to the end of the gutter, then the water will flow along the chain.
I see what you're saying.
So it goes, and most of the time it'll end up going to a collection device, a rain barrel or a soaking tub or something like that. So you have these, and they just look cooler than gutters hanging off the edge.
I will look. I'm going to Google those.
Rain chains.
I have a lot of stuff here. I'll put some more pictures online, but I'm enjoying it. If I can't have NHRA and boat racing, I'm going to make a Japanese soaking tub.
There you go, brother. Listen, we need to run. We'll chat forever. Anything else? Did you have any bullet points? Anything you wanted to talk about before we came on? Because we rambled.
I want to say something real quick. As a guy from Kansas City, and I want everybody that's outside of Kansas City, I just want to answer everybody at the same time. Okay, between Kansas City, the Carolinas, Texas, and Memphis, I don't have a favorite. It's like kids, you know. I love pulled pork out of the Carolinas. Yep. I love me some Memphis barbecue spaghetti and brisket down there. Yep. I love me from Texas beef ribs. Oh, and I love me some Kansas City burn-ins. Okay, I'm just like, everybody asks me all the time. They find out I'm from Kansas City. What's your favorite barbecue? Where's that? All of them. I love them all.
I like barbecue. I like barbecue, whatever kind it is. I'll take it in any form. I lived in Memphis for a long time, so I'm partial to Memphis. The thing I don't like, I never really got into dry rub ribs. It's just not. Yeah,
it's like the Texas thing. But I will tell you, Arthur Bryant's burn-ins here in Kansas City is the absolute best out of all barbecue. So I do have one favorite. Sorry.
Are they wet or dry?
We don't have dry barbecue.
Yeah, that's it. See, that's it. Okay.
You guys start getting on the East Coast, you do that because people don't know what smoke rings are. You have to cook them all the way through because people are complaining because they don't think it's done.
Yeah.
I know you love your barbecue, man.
If I'm going to eat barbecue, I want sauce from this area into this area. Yeah. So we get it
burn-ins from Arthur Bryant's, man. I'm telling you.
Kansas City. All right, I'm going to do that. Next time I'm in Kansas City, we're going to Arthur Bryant's, brother.
I'll take you to 4 or 5 of them.
We'll make
we got more per capita than anywhere else in the country.
All right, let's Joy. I appreciate you popping on, man. Be well. Take care of yourself. Enjoy that soaking tub.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Right.
Get You Some Radio. You've been listening to the Get You Some Radio Show. Subscribe today at terrylancaster.tv to hear more episodes, win valuable cash and prizes, and get free training to help you create an army of buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. It's a big, wide world, boys and girls. Get out there and get you some.